Hello everybody, Josh12 back here again with another video, and I'm here to give you another top 5 list. Yes, it's that time of the week again, so let's get into this week's top 5 list. Now, of course, seeing as how this week is possibly going to be a very Batman v Superman heavy kind of a week, considering that allegedly we'll be getting a sneak preview / alleged trailer for Gotham tonight, which I will possibly end up reviewing later today or possibly tomorrow. However, I decided to dedicate this top 5 of the week to another Batman v Superman top 5. And of course, previously I did my top 5 Batman love interests, I did my top 5 Superman love interests, and seeing as how I've added Wonder Woman to the fold, it's time to give you my top 5 list of the best, or at least what I consider to be the best love interest to the one and only Wonder Woman. Now, of course, like Superman and unlike Batman, she has been pretty much a one-man kind of a person. She doesn't really have multiple suitors, multiple companions, multiple boyfriends, or even girlfriends, or husbands, or wives. She doesn't really have a lot of that. And of course, you can go super deep into the comic book canon, or the multiple Elseworld stories, or any kind of separate graphic novels to try and find like some person that she has been involved with, possibly sexually, possibly romantically. We just don't know. It's just way too super deep, or possibly way too just insignificant in the overall scheme of her comic book run. However, I decided to pick these specific top 5 characters that she has been romantically linked to in her comic book canon, and of course in multiple other kind of Elseworld stories and continuities. So once again, with all my top 5s, it is subjective, it's my personal list, my personal thoughts, so of course in the comment section below, let me know what your top 5 lists are of the best love interest to the one and only Amazonian princess Diana. But that being said, let's go off of that and go into my number 5 pick of the top 5 list of these characters, which has to go down to Tom Treasure, aka Nemesis. Now, back in the mid to late 2000s, if you will, DC created a new relaunch of Wonder Woman, and of course, you know, recreating the Wonder Woman universe, and they essentially created a new specific character that would play a somewhat Steve Trevor kind of role when it comes to Wonder Woman trying to become part of this kind of new world, and that's where Nemesis comes in. Nemesis was kind of just a comedic foil for Wonder Woman trying to learn specific things, and they had this real kind of more of a comedic courtship through her kind of like Amazonian kind of ways, and it was mostly just played for laughs. It wasn't like a legitimate love interest, and that was kind of why we don't really see Nemesis again when it comes to Wonder Woman, considering that Wonder Woman never really truly loved him, but they did have some form of relationship in before the relaunch, once again another relaunch of the New 52, which of course I'll get into later. However, I always thought their relationship was pretty funny and hysterical, how it was played out in her continuity, specifically in this time period, so I just had to put it in there. And plus, once again, Wonder Woman doesn't have many girlfriends, boyfriends, or any kind of love interests like Superman, so it's kind of hard to pick and choose what are the best when there's pretty much only one. So that being said, moving off of that, going to number 4 on this list has to go to the King of the Seven Seas, Arthur Curry, aka Aquaman. Now, of course, as we all know, Wonder Woman has, on some occasions, have been romantically linked to her Justice League members. Now, unfortunately, in comparison to the main two, which I'll get into later once again, unfortunately, Aquaman and Wonder Woman's relationship has always been more or less for business. It's never been because Wonder Woman has loved Arthur. It's not because Arthur has loved Diana. It's mostly been a business kind of thing. It's because of the bridging of their two worlds, you know, the Atlanteans and the Amazonians. It's always been that kind of a thing. So that's always why you never really consider, like, oh, Wonder Woman and Aquaman, yeah, they're love interests, they've been together and they love each other. Not really. It's always been a business kind of decision, and it's always been a way of bridging their two worlds together in specific storylines. And it, to a certain extent, it kind of does make a lot of sense, seeing as how he is, you know, the king of his world, and she's the princess of their of her world. So it makes sense that they would, at least realistically, if you look at it in like Earth's world history, in the real world, it kind of makes sense that their two worlds would come across one another and actually be a thing. But it's mostly just been unromantic kind of a thing. But he is considered love interest, so I had to put him in there. So that's why he's in number 4. But moving off of that and going to number 3 on this list has to go to the Dark Knight himself, Batman. Now, obviously, as everyone would know if you are a subscriber or viewer of my channel, I'm a hardcore Batman fan. He's definitively my favorite superhero of all time, next to Goku, Son Goku, the man himself. How, unfortunately, Batman and Wonder Woman have never really, I guess, realistically have been a mainstay in the sense of, like, they've always been very inconsistently romantically involved, which is why I can't really put them higher on the list, even though I would consider their relationship a lot more interesting in comparison to the next two I'll get into. However, there is no qualms with it. Batman and Wonder Woman have been in multiple relationships together. They both have respect for one another. They both love each other to a certain extent. Unfortunately, Wonder Woman could never be with Batman, considering he's so deep into the ways of being the Dark Knight, and of course he always putting his job over her would obviously be I mean, like, come on, we know this. It's Batman. There's a reason why he has multiple love interests, is because he never is consistent with the woman he's with at the time, unless it's freaking Catwoman. But that being said, I always enjoyed their relationship together. I always enjoyed how they always separated their love and their work relationships together, and they just always look great together. I just always love seeing Batman and Wonder Woman together. I'm just saying, if you are a hardcore fan of the Justice League animated series, as I am, you would know why their relationship is really awesome together. But moving off of that, going to number 2 on this list has to go to the Man of Steel himself, Superman. Now, obviously, there has been multiple Elseworld stories, non-canon stories, where Superman and Wonder Woman do get together, and they have they do get married, they have kids. Like, if you've seen stories like Frank Miller's Dark Knight universe or Kingdom Come, there are stories where Wonder Woman and Superman do get together. Unfortunately, that was completely morphed for the relaunch, where they actually became a thing, and it was the new status quo, where Superman and Wonder Woman would actually be in a relationship in the main canon. And it's always been a very mixed kind of bag for me. As much as I like the Man of Steel, and I always liked, you know, the Princess of Amazon, of Themyscira, if you will, I just always felt like it was too easy and obvious for these two characters to be together, which is why I always liked the Dark Knight to be with Wonder Woman. How, unfortunately, there is no denial that they are pretty much perfect for one another. They're both superpowered beings. They both are very similar in their ways. They both are heroes, superheroes, if you will, and they're just awesome characters all around, and they make each other better. And the relaunch of New 52 have really done a lot of really cool, interesting things. A lot of people are obviously mixed on, but at the end of the day, there is no denial that their relationship together really worked out for the best. But that being said, moving off of that, I will be skipping the honorable mentions this week, mostly due to the fact that, once again, like the Superman list I did, it's very hard and difficult to come up with characters that Wonder Woman has been romantically involved in. But that being said, moving off of all these characters, the number one pick that has to be on this list, and I'm pretty sure everyone else's list that I'm pretty sure everyone has saw coming, is Steve Trevor. Steve Trevor has been and always been the most consistent relationship, love interest, companion, you know, just overall character that's been side by side with Wonder Woman all throughout her comic book continuity. And Steve Trevor has always been a very interesting character. I always felt like that's essentially what would have happened if Steve Rogers, Captain America, ended up with freaking Wonder Woman. That's essentially what their relationship is. That, like, he's a military guy, she's a part of this weird mystical kind of world of the Amazonians, and he crash lands. Like, I don't want to spoil the whole continuity storyline of how they meet, but of course, you know, it's pretty simple. He crash lands on Themyscira. They fall in love with one another. It's like DC's Pocahontas. You know, shit goes down. But that's pretty much it. I mean, like, Steve Trevor, at the end of the day, is always going to be the definitive love interest for Wonder Woman. I mean, like, no matter how amazing their relationship could be with Superman and Wonder Woman, how awesome it is with Dark Knight and Wonder Woman, it's always going to go down to Steve Trevor. Steve Trevor has been and always will be the definitive love interest, but overall, they're characters that are really awesome. They're characters that really bounce back off one another. It's always been a very interesting relationship in the sense that he's kind of like the damsel in distress to her superhero, I guess, persona, but at the end of the day, he also has his own kind of superhero persona in the sense that he is a badass, he is a military man, and even though he is dating an Amazonian who's super powered and has, all these really cool mystical, weaponry like the lasso of truth and all that kind of crazy nonsense, he can do his own things. And I always like that about their relationship in comparison to Superman's relationship with Lois or Batman's relationship with the multiple girlfriends he's been, is that he's not a damsel in distress, he's his own guy, and he has his own separate kind of stories. But that being said, moving off of that, that's been my top 5 list of the week. I hope you guys enjoyed. Comment below, let me know what your personal top 5 list are for the top 5 Wonder Woman love interest. Of course, if there's a character or a ranking that you did not agree with, please comment below. But that being said, right before I go, I will be possibly reviewing the Batman v Superman sneak preview, clip, trailer, thingamajig, whatever the hell DC wants to call it, for Gotham premiere tonight. Gotham, I think, is having their mid-season finale tonight, so I'm not going to review the episode because I don't watch Gotham anymore. However, I will be checking out the episode and hopefully see if this preview is worth a shit. And of course, if it's amazing, which of course I'm pretty sure it might end up being, I will be reviewing it, so please be on the lookout for my channel. But that being said, comment below, let me know what you personally thought about this top 5 of the week. Next week I'll be giving you my top 5 Marvel, another top 5 Marvel list, so please be on the lookout for that. But that being said, follow me on Twitter and Instagram, @Josh12. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so already, and hope you guys enjoyed. And this has been Josh12.